Welcome back to Newsday. The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku has promised to revive businesses, create jobs, and restructure the southeastern part of the country. The former vice president also said that he would also set aside $10 billion to empower young men and women in businesses. Those were the high points of his address to thousands of party faithful who attended the party's presidential campaign rally in Owerri, the Imo State capital, on Saturday. At the onset of his Southeast campaign tour, Atiku had famously declared at Ekweme Square in Awka, Anambra State that he would make sure that Igbos would have their turn at the presidency at the expiration of his own tenure in office. To what extent has this pronouncement helped the PDP in a region where it used to be so dominant, but where that stranglehold is now heavily endangered by the incursion of other political parties? Well, joining us now to rub minds on this for a while is Charles Aniagwu, a spokesperson for the Atiku presidential campaign team. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thanks for having me. Happy Sunday.
Well, same to you. So how would you assess Atiku Abubakar's campaign so far in the Southeast, especially with what some have termed controversial comments that after the expiration of his tenure, he will ensure that the Igbos have their turn at the presidency? How do you think the campaign is going so far in the Southeast?
Well, let me start by first responding to the later part of your question when you talked about the controversial comment. It's not controversial. Atiku did not say that he's going to just take a president and give to the southeastern part of the country because he believes that every Nigerian will have a say when that time comes. But he says it's a stepping stone. And today, as we speak, Atiku has a running mate who is of Igbo extraction, even if he's from the southern part of this country. And so that, to a very large extent, speaks to that aspect of his stepping stone. Beyond that, you also recall that in time past, Atiku have also contested for this particular position. And in each of those positions, he did not waste time in looking in the direction of brothers and sisters in the southeastern part of this country. You recall the first time he ran for this position, he did not waste time going for somebody from the southeast, and that is the person of Senator Ben Obi. The last time in 2019 again, he also went for Peter Obi. You may want to say Obi squared. And then this time around, he's running with Okowa, who is also from the southeast, from the south side, but of course, of Igbo extraction. And so when you look at it, there seems to be a very wonderful marriage between Atiku and our brothers from the Igbo race. But beyond that, Atiku have also recognized that our brothers and sisters in the southeastern part of the country are largely commercial oriented, in which case they are businessmen who are into commerce. And Atiku, being a businessman who understands business, knows that the best thing to do to be able to bring them out of the doldrums is to empower a number of persons to be able to also do critical business in addition to improving infrastructure. And which is why the $10 billion package he's putting together will benefit a number of persons from the Southeast, because that fund is to help both micro and macro businesses so that they are able to wake up. Today, those businesses are endangered because government tend not to have been able to pay reasonable attention to individuals at that level. And just like what you have in places like China, you see that this informal sector and these number of persons that are into micro and macro businesses tend to have become the backbone of the Chinese economy. And so Atiku believes that empowering them to a very large extent, wake up that sector, and at the end of the day, contribute to our gross domestic product, and by extension, improve the standard of living of the people. And so it is not out of place that he is going to walk the talk by ensuring that the southeastern part of this country is brought fully into the mainstream. Perhaps in the course of this conversation, we may need to begin to look at why you are seeing a level of agitation that you never saw in time past in the Southeast. Of course, it speaks to the amount of anger in the minds of the people that they tend not to be benefiting more from a country that they call their own, particularly after the Civil War, where they fought, thinking that at that time things were not looking good, and that by coming together, the 3 R's, which speaks to the issue of reconciliation and many other things and rebuilding, needed to be able to receive the full weight, so that at the end of the day, we're able to not only rebuild the Southeast, but that we're also able to ensure that they come into the mainstream. Just look at what happened after the Civil War. Bridges were being built in a number of places, But the Southeast that was at the receiving end of that war was not rebuilt. And so Atiku says no. He will do it in such a way that every part of this country, the geopolitical zone, will indeed have a say in the government of this country.
Very good, Charles. Now, talking about the anger, dissenting voices, and of course reconciliation, just like you alluded to, and some specifics here. The National Vice President of Ohaneze Ndigbo, Chief Damien Okeke Ogene, recently said Mr. Atiku Abubakar lost the support of the Southeast the moment he jettisoned zoning, which he had largely benefited from. How would you respond to that?
I have responded to issues such as this before now, but since you have asked, I will again. Atiku at no time jettisoned zoning. We need to be able to understand the mathematics of zoning vis-a-vis the position of different political parties and, of course, the position of our constitution. Let it be made very, very clear that constitutionally, as our national constitution, zoning is not enshrined. Zoning was introduced by the PDP as a way, politically, as a way of ensuring that every part of this country have a say in the governance and, of course, in the issues of benefiting from whatever that comes from government by way of project and policies. Now, the PDP in 1999 allowed, of course, following from what happened with respect to MK Abiola, allowed two persons, the people of the South, to have a very great opportunity, even if there were other persons that contested from the North. Don't forget, Rimi was in that contest. Gemadi was in that contest. And, Rimi was in that contest. Ekweme was in that contest. Obasanjo won. And after Obasanjo, in 2003, other persons from across the country, including Abubakar Rimi, including Gemadi, also ran. You recall the famous Obasanjo, Rimi, Gemadi, by this brother leader from Edo State, Tommy Kimi. And then thereafter, in 2007, you also recall Peter Odili and a number of other persons ran for that election. In short, Peter Odili was almost coasting home until Obasanjo came and then made it clear that Yar'Adua of blessed memory was his own candidate, and that made it possible for Yar'Adua to emerge. And after Yar'Adua, of course, of blessed memory, may the good Lord accept his soul, Jonathan came on board. And when Jonathan also contested in 2011, he also contested alongside persons from both the South and the North. And in 2015, Jonathan also proceeded again to contest. At this time, we are talking about individuals in the PDP. We were not looking at what's happening in other political parties. And when that happened, eventually, a number of persons in the North felt that in the party that they have not given the North enough, opportunity, which was why some persons left to the APC. And then thereafter, the PDP continued, and in 2019, Atiku came on board to contest. He did not win. I wouldn't know when people talk about this zoning, whether they are not taking into cognizance the fact that this zoning is to address the sensibilities of the different persons. That you contest and you don't win, does that mean that those sensibilities have been addressed? We have not included it in our constitution, particularly the PDP constitution, that whether you win or not, it means your turn have been taken. PDP have had 16 good years in office. And out of that 16 good years at the national level, the southern part of this country have had a very wonderful share of 13.5 years. And our brothers in the north, only 2.5 years. Can you equate 2.5 years to 13.5 years? Can that become equity in the thinking of those who are accusing Atiku of jettison zoning? Now, the PDP, being a very wise party, was able to look at the fact that they are in the opposition. And that there is a need to be able to return to power. And to be able to return to power, they felt that there was a need to give everybody a fair share at that shot. And luckily, Atiku, being much more widely accepted across the length and breadth of this country, he emerged victorious. Atiku did not become the candidate of the PDP by virtue of just votes of the people from the north. Atiku won overwhelming number of votes from the southern part of this country. When the PDP opened it, were they expecting that it was just for the exercise of just opening it for opening sake? The contest was thrown open and Atiku emerged. Atiku did not jettison any zoning. The PDP was one who said, let us leave it open because we need to return to power. And I need to take you to a place like Rivers State, for instance. Rotimi Amechi is suffering from the same place with Nyesom Wike, the governor of Rivers. You recall in 2015, I wouldn't know whether you could recall that, when number of persons were saying that in Rivers that they needed to go to the creeks or go leave the upland. It was our brother, Yeson Wike, who reminded them that you cannot begin to share what you don't have. And that at that time that the party does not even have the power because Amici have taken the power and then joined the APC. And that they need to first of all recover that power before you begin to talk about zoning. So
Aniagwu, allow me to
answer your question, did not jettison zoning.
Okay, well, very well said. Thank you for that clarification. Now, of course, we know that the Southeast has traditionally been a strong support base for the PDP. But with Peter Obi's candidacy on the platform of the Labour Party and the strong support that it seems to be getting from the youths, do you think the PDP will still get the same level of support that it has always enjoyed in the past? I mean, this is the chance for them to have an Igbo presidency. They really do not have to wait for the expiration of Atiku Abubakar's tenure. What do you think about that?
Nigeria is not going to die tomorrow. So if anybody doesn't win now, the person will win tomorrow. So if our brothers in the Southeast are not able to become president today, it means that tomorrow when there's going to be another election, there's another opportunity, which is why Atiku have said that he's a stepping stone to that aspiration. Now, coming to the issue of whether there's an incursion into the electoral fortunes of the PDP, don't forget as we speak, more than 90% of the National Assembly members and even State House of Assembly members in the Southeast are still of the PDP. Those you call the down ballot if you were in America. What is the implication of that? Since our brother Peter Obi left the PDP and joined the Labour Party, how many lawmakers, how many political bigwigs in the Southeast have left to join the Labour Party? And what does that tell you? You think they're irrelevant? It's because they know where their bread is buttered. It's because it's time for them to follow who know road. And in this instance, Atiku is a man that knows the road to be able to ensure that the South is, number one, developed, and that the South is now begin to also reciprocate what he has done in the course of time, which is persistently picking from the Southeast whenever he has opportunity to run. And so, and a good number of leaders in the Southeast have appreciated that, including some of their governors. There are 5 governors in the Southeast, of course, representing the 5 Southeastern states. I'm not too sure there is any one of them that is in the Labour Party. Except, of course, we are saying that doesn't matter. We are happy. There's no problem with Peter Obi running. Don't forget in 2019, Atiku recognized that he's somebody he can run with, and he made him his running mate. So there is no hard feelings, no love lost between, there's no trouble between Atiku and Peter Obi. But what we can tell you is that Atiku will win the vote of the Southeast because the people of the Southeast believe that he has got the ability to be able to bring a number of the things that they're asking for at the moment. And indeed, he will become the stepping stone for our brothers and sisters in the Southeast to be able to clinch the number 1 position in the country. So we are not disturbed. It only widens the contest, which is a good thing democratically. And the same way, you also have people in the North who may even also support Peter Obi. There is nothing wrong about that. But you know that Atiku will win fair and square because of his acceptability across the length and breadth of this country. He's not looking for 25% in any of those states. He's going to win fair and square. And so we are waiting by the grace of God. February 25th is not too far from now. You remember when they went to Oshun, they were counting Labour Party as one of the front runners. You saw the result because this politics is not just what is just happening on the streets. Man talk to man, man listen. The question is, who is that man that talks to man? There are people who owns the different words, who understands that the PDP have done well in time past, and Atiku is ready to improve on the records of the PDP. So we are not disturbed. Ours is that we believe that the sovereignty belongs to the people. And that is why Atiku and Okowa are continuously interfacing with Nigerians irrespective of where they live. By tomorrow, by the grace of God, we'll be heading in the direction of Southern Kaduna with a view to interface with our kids and kin and brothers in that part of the country. On Tuesday, we will proceed to Katsina. What is happening to the other political parties, including the one led by Emilokon? And so you must understand what the issues are. There are those who are chasing those who are chasing those who are in the race, and there are those who are in the race. And in this race, Atiku is a front runner who is in that race.
Very good, Charles. Now, on some issues which are quite concerning in the Southeast, Mr. Abubakar says if elected president, he would end insecurity ravaging the Southeast part of Nigeria currently. Now, there's been mixed public reaction to that, and some don't sound too convinced. But what are your take here? You know, how does he hope to reassure those who don't sound too convinced?
If your child wakes up and sees his eye or her eyes is turning him or her, You don't just go and begin to look for an optician to begin to, or an obstetrician to examine the eyes. You must first of all also understand whether the child is hungry, because it's possible that too much hunger is the reason why the eye is turning the child, which means you must diagnose to know what the challenge is to be able to understand the right medicine. Atiku have carried out a diagnosis of the challenges in the Southeast, and he has been able to put it in different perspectives, which is why in our agenda, one of the very critical points of the 5-point agenda of Atiku is to bring security to the length and breadth of this country. And to be able to do that, he says he's going to interface with both state and non-state actors. Majority of the major part of the crisis in the Southeast is done by non-state actors. But Atiku says he's not going to get involved in labeling to say unknown gunmen or Eastern Network or IPOP. That is not going to be involved in that labeling. That is going to be able to look at why are they agitating. And that he has been able to understand that the present situation in our country that left the Southeast out of a number of issues is not acceptable to him. Because if we are a country where you have 6 geopolitical zones, thanks to the administration of late Muhammad Abacha, that it is time, Sani Abacha, that it is time for us to bring these 6 geopolitical zones into the decision table. Even if before now we were 3 regions, that there is a need for all these regions or zones as it is at the moment to be brought onto the decision table. And that beyond bringing them into the decision table, in which case you have been able to create a sense of equity at the policy-making level, that you're also going to address the issues of infrastructure. Atiku says individuals are agitating because they tend not to have a sense of belonging in the larger Nigeria. And that the best thing to do, first of all, is to make them believe that an Igbo man can realize the God-given potential in a united Nigeria. And in doing so, he has consistently looked in that direction. Let me digress a little and then mention some of the persons that had sway during the Obasanjo Atiku days. You remember Okonjo-Iweala, a woman who is still making exploits in the international community. The last time I checked, she's married from somebody in the Abia state, while she's hid from Delta state. She's also of Igbo extraction. Okonjo-Iweala was discovered by Atiku Abubakar from far away north. Not because she's a Muslim, Okonjo-Iweala is a Christian. That points to the fact that Atiku is not only a talent hunter, Atiku is also a pan-Nigerian. You remember the man who is now holding sway in Anambra, Chukwuma Soludo, a man who did very well to save our banking sector and then brought about the banking consolidation under the Atiku Obasanjo administration. That man, the last time I checked, is from Southeast. It's not from Adamawa. I can go on and on to mention a number of persons, our brothers from the Southeast, that Atiku discovered and saw that there was the need for them to make progress. I was told of a story of what he did when he was in the customs. With respect to some Igbos who were not able to clear their goods after the war, Atiku came to their rescue by allowing them to go and then later come in to pay into the government coffers. What does that mean? Love for the people from the Southeast. So specifically, on the issue of whether Atiku is going to have an inroad in the Southeast, he's not only going to have an inroad, he's going to have a dual carriage that can take us to victory in 2023.
Well, Mr. Aniagwu, I guess we'll have to wait and see, but you sound very convinced, and we do thank you for, giving us all that analysis. Now, I'd like us to talk about the elephant in the room. When you were talking about a number of things that Atiku Abubakar is, you forgot to mention that he's also supposed to be a unifier. But of course, we have the crisis with Governor Nyesom Wike and the other G5 governors. So they've been absent from the campaign trail. How do you think that will affect, Atiku Abubakar's chances in the 2023 election? And what message do you think it sends to Nigerians, to voters, that a man that is coming to unify the country cannot even start with his own party?
Jesus Christ had 12 disciples, and amongst them, the last time I checked my Bible, Judas was one of them. And that Judas was one of them does not in any way reduce the fact that Jesus Christ was a very holy man who was able to put his people together. So once in a while, you could have a number of persons who may not flow in your direction. That does not mean you don't have the ability to unite. And then speaking about the need to unite Nigeria, Atiku's unity is not just about the politics. It is about the need for us to move in one direction. And so even when you talk about unity, PDP is in far more united than even APC. Our president, Muhammadu Buhari, a man that is now gaining international attraction with respect to his promise to give us a very credible election. And we must commend him because what he saw, the governors of the APC didn't see it. He has seen that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu will not be a good candidate. That is why you can see he's not following them. The man does not want to be disgraced. So he's minding his business. Oshibajo is the number 2 person not only in the country, but also in the APC. He's not also following their campaign trail. Let me also remind you that the third person in the APC and in the government of this federation is Senate President Ahmed Lawan. I have not seen him in any of their campaign trail.
Mr.
So if you talk about those who are not even carrying
PDP.
big wigs
Let's
in their party.
Let's focus on the PDP, Mr.
The PDP
Aniagwu,
is
yes.
very united. Yes, PDP is very united. I'm only telling you that we are even much more united than the other political party. Atiku is uniting the party. The party leadership at the level of the ESCO is moving in one direction under the leadership of Iyocha Ayu, a senator. And so, those who say whether we're able to unite our party is making waves. I just told you where we'll be going to tomorrow, where we will go to next tomorrow. We have continued to crisscross the length and breadth of this country. And in each of them, you could see the overwhelming acceptance of the people in those areas where we are visited. So, Atiku is not only uniting us. Atiku is telling Nigerians that it is possible to recover from where we are at the moment and get Nigeria returned to winning ways. So we are not disturbed. We believe that those are our leaders who may be a little hesitant at this moment because of some other reasons. We have, in the course of time, return to the fold for us to move in one direction. We're expecting them to come back because we believe that them working with us will make us have a much more smoother ride.
And as you said, the people are the sovereign. They will make the final decisions when it comes to voting the right candidates in. Charles Aniagwu, spokesman, Atiku Abubakar presidential campaign team, I'd like to thank you very much for your thoughts on these issues. Good to have you.